Before we get started with this video, I would just like to publicly thank Disney and Marvel Comics for providing us with so many hilarious distractions from the serious events that are going on in the world right now. I am truly grateful. I am also grateful for everyone who has subscribed to this channel and liked and shared the videos. It really has helped, and I appreciate your continued support.
And Bob Iger basically said he had seen some of the early dailies from these, the second sequels, the new 3 movies. And he said, no, we've got to use the new 3 movies.
They said, well, yesterday, Bob Iger met with Kathleen Kennedy. Her point of view was, do we want to build a Tatooine and build what all the 50-somethings remember Star Wars is?
That is why you fail.
Nerdrotic.com.
I was going to say Disney Star Wars hasn't had a very good last couple of months, but let's be real here. It hasn't had a real good existence. Aside from Rogue One and The Mandalorian, it's been bad decision after bad decision. And since The Mandalorian aired, we have heard about the Let's Get High Republic, featuring the Jedi Karen, the best Avar. Then we heard the toy sales were in the gutter. Then they counteract that, or Lucasfilm counteracts that, with female-centric Star Wars, which we will talk about a little bit for the last time on this channel. Then we get this big shocker. From John F. Trent at Bounding Into Comics, former Walt Disney World Vice President claims Lucasfilms, Kathleen Kennedy killed Tatooine-themed Star Wars land.
I feel shocked.
This really isn't that much of a shocker. It's just more contradicting information coming from Disney Star Wars. What I find particularly amusing, and this is pure speculation on my part, is that the Cold War, the passive-aggressive battle between Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy, might actually be spilling out into the access media. A lot of people have a lot of time on their hands, and apparently some people are getting pretty chatty, including former Disney executives who are willing to drop the bomb that doesn't surprise anyone. Kathleen Kennedy is the architect of the destruction of Star Wars. In other news, water is wet. Kathleen Kennedy, the strong, independent, powerful, and fierce female who killed the goose that lays the golden eggs. Kathleen Kennedy, the woman who turned Star Wars into Star Was. Former Walt Disney World Vice President Dan Cockerell recently revealed some behind-the-scenes details about Disney Star Wars attractions at Disney World and Disneyland. Cockerell, who was Vice President of Epcot, Hollywood Studios, and Magic Kingdom, and spent almost 2 decades with the company, appeared on the WDW radio podcast, where he discussed how Star Wars Galaxy's Edge came about and how the original plans were to create a world based off of George Lucas's original trilogy. Now, we got to give Clownfish TV some credit. They have been on top of this from the get-go, and John does that. As first reported by Pirates and Princesses, which is Geeky Sparkle's website. I think Neon works on it too. Cockerell detailed what the original plans were for Galaxy's Edge. We had just purchased Lucasfilm, and it started to become the talk about, okay, if we're going to bring that to life, where are we going to do that? And they came to the obvious decision that everyone else would come to except for Kathleen Kennedy. And Hollywood Studios ended up being the place because that's where it seemed to fit the best, and it was the park that needed an update the most and to replace some of the experiences, Cockerell explained. Now, I'm not a parks geek, so I don't care about how they broke things down and how they set it up, but you could certainly read it at Bounding Into Comics. Go check it out. Let's get to the nitty-gritty. So we did it for a couple of years, and we had the Epic Theater, the Indiana Jones Theater. That was going to be the heart of the Star Wars land. That was going to go away, and we were going to plug it in right there. Mos Eisley Cantina was going to be right across from Star Tours. We had all kinds of great concepts for that. That sounds cool. He continued, we had gotten way down the path on art drawings, and we hadn't gone into architecture drawings or anything. And then the news hits.
And then we got a call one day, and they said, well, we got some news for you all. And the Imagineering guys, they've heard this line many, many times during their career. And I had never been through this. They said, well, yesterday, Bob Iger met with Kathleen Kennedy, who, as a lot of people may know, was sort of George Lucas's protege and headed up Lucasfilms. And they had a conversation, they had a meeting. And Kathleen Kennedy, her point of view was there are way more Disney or Star Wars stories ahead of us than behind us.
Is there now?
So we really should think about, or do we want to build a Tatooine and build what all the 50-somethings remember Star Wars is?
Screw those 50-somethings with all that disposable income, and I guess you don't have to worry about it because the world has worked that out for you. I don't think anyone is going to have disposable income for intersectional feminism, identity politics, or political correctness.
Or do we want to build something else which is going to appeal to all the upcoming generations who are going to know the new stories? And that day, the Tatooine was killed at the studios.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them.
And all those concepts were put on a shelf, and I'm sure they're sitting in a vault, and I'm sure they're going to be shown someday about what that land would have looked like and what the attractions were going to be. And the Imagineering team, we got off the phone, and I said, "Can you guys believe this?" And they said, "This is terrible. We've been working on this." I said, "Well, what's next?" They said, "Well, we're going to get on a call tomorrow and start over." I said, "That's it?" They go, "Look, go out tonight, go have a few beers, cry in your drink, come back tomorrow, and we're starting again."
Last summer, I went to Galaxy's Edge and I found it bleak, boring, and soulless, just like current Disney Star was. Last summer, I seem to remember an article coming out stating that Bob Iger was the one who made the decision to go with Galaxy's Edge because of the dailies he saw from The Force Awakens. From Bleeding Fool revealed Disney's Galaxy's Edge was initially based on the original trilogy. Apparently, during the initial planning stages, Galaxy's Edge was set to feature Tatooine and possibly Endor, Hoth, or other planets from the Star Wars prequel trilogy. No, it's the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy. Let's not lump them in together. That is until Disney CEO Bob Iger saw the dailies for The Force Awakens and decided he wanted Imagineering to switch over to the Disney-created sequel trilogy. That's very interesting. The interview with J. Daniel Jenkins was conducted on the August 13th, 2019 episode of the Dreamfinders podcast, and Jenkins seemingly confirms what many fans have felt to be true around the 40-minute mark. Let's go there.
You know, the original concepts for Star Wars Land was not going to be Batuu. It was going to be, you know, either one or two other known planets within the Star Wars ecosphere, if you will, and storylines. So they had been working, and I'd been working on Star Wars Land and Toy Story Land simultaneously for about a year. And Bob Iger basically said he had seen some of the early dailies from the second sequels, the new 3 movies. And he said, "No, we've got to use the new 3 movies storyline. We're not going to be using the older 6 movies," just because he saw how good they were going to be. And I know that's a big debate right now as well. So for a different time, I guess. But that was some of the early challenges.
So was it Bob Iger's idea because he loved The Force Awakens, or was it Kathleen Kennedy's idea? Or was it Kathleen Kennedy's idea and Bob Iger wanted to take credit for it? Or was Bob Iger covering for Kathleen Kennedy because he knew it was a horrible decision? Or has this been just a giant ego battle from the get-go? This brings us to female Star Wars and the former assistant to Harvey Weinstein, Leslie Headland. This has been a giant PR disaster for Disney. Making this announcement during the lockdown was bad enough, but now we hear the Bobs are livid. Now, I have no idea if this is true. Clownfish TV has been reporting on it. Please go check out their videos. Bounding into Comics, many others, Itchy Baka, Jeremy at Geeks and Gamers. Everybody's done a video on this. The most important aspect to this is
I don't care.
I think it's hilarious. So I can completely believe that there's some kind of Cold War, some kind of passive-aggressive war going on between Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy. And I believe he has been covering for her for a long time. You notice she doesn't publicly apologize for anything. She doesn't show any humility for anything. Do I think it's plausible that the Bobs are livid that Kathleen Kennedy and Ashley Headland and Lucasfilm went behind their back to make an announcement? Absolutely. Do I think it's possible that this might be just a miscommunication within a giant corporation? Sure. Do I think it's within the realm of possibility that Kathleen Kennedy, Ashley Hedlund, and Lucasfilm rushed this announcement out before it got squashed? Yes. Do I think it's worth considering that Disney might be having second thoughts because Ashley Hedlund deleted hundreds of tweets, which might lead to a major PR disaster due to her association with Harvey Weinstein not really lining up with her intersectional feminist beliefs? Most definitely. Is commentary on Disney news far more entertaining than anything they actually produce? Absolutely. I assumed, like everyone else, that Kathleen Kennedy was a pretty damn good producer, and I still kind of believe that as long as she was working with Steven Spielberg and his associates. But when it comes to running something creatively, she just doesn't have it. She's been promoted beyond her ability. To be a successful leader, you need to have good instincts, and Kathleen Kennedy does not have them when it comes to Disney Star Wars, probably due to the fact that she doesn't know very much about the property. There is no reason why you couldn't have had new and old in Star Wars land. It was a no-brainer that she managed to screw up. I have no idea what's going on behind the scenes at Disney, but it's certainly amusing. The one thing I do know is Bob Iger has no power over Kathleen Kennedy. She is not going anywhere. She will leave when she is good and damn ready. And until she leaves, we will get healthy doses of intersectional feminism, identity politics, and political correctness. I'm just not entirely sure if it's gonna sell. And as far as those 50-somethings with disposable incomes, it's clear that she has some weird resentment towards the male fans of this franchise.
I hate him! I hate him!
Lost sales will be the legacy of Kathleen Kennedy. But as far as the High Republic and Avar goes,
Do it.
and as far as the female-centric Star Wars goes,
Do it.
why stop there? Why not a YA series of Reylo tales for 50-year-old women?
Do it.
A comic series about furry Jedis?
Do it.
A Disney Plus series exploring the abusive relationship between Palpatine and Anakin?
Do it.
A Disney Plus series exploring the secret relationship between Han and Chewie?
Do it.
A Disney Plus series exploring the secret relationship between Luke and Biggs?
Do it.
A Disney Plus series exploring the secret relationship between Lando and Lobot?
Do it.
A Disney Plus series exploring the secret relationship between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon?
Do it.
Disney Plus series exploring the secret relationship between Leia and Wicket?
Do it.
I care not, because the most entertaining thing about Disney Star Wars is the videos here on YouTube and their press releases. Until next time, everyone have a great day. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.
Nerdrotic.com. Please subscribe.
Do it.